Salvete, welcome to Beginner's Latin Lesson 9. In this lesson we'll be discussing uses of the ablative case. We have previously discussed the inflection of nouns in Latin when looking at first and second declension noun endings. Inflection is a term used to describe words changing their form according to the syntactic function of the word in the sentence. The act of inflecting a noun is called declining. A Latin noun belongs to a declension or set of nouns which decline similarly. We have already seen first and second declension nouns. There are 5 declensions in total. The grammatical forms or cases a Latin noun can take when it is declined are the nominative, the naming case, used for subjects and predicates, the vocative case, for direct address, the accusative case, for direct objects, the dative case, for indirect objects, the genitive case, meaning of something, somewhere or someone, which is used for possession, and the ablative case. The ablative case was originally used to indicate separation or motion away from something. There was also a 7th case in Old Latin, the locative case, which indicated a place or location, but this has fallen out of use in Classical Latin. Its function in Classical Latin has more or less been absorbed by the ablative case. Some of the uses of the ablative case are to indicate separation from an object. Accompaniment, example, we went to town with James, meaning James is accompanying us to the town. There is also the ablative instrument or means, which tells us how an action is performed or with what it is performed. We can also use the ablative for expressing the location of an object, like the book is on the table. This is not an exhaustive list. There are many more uses of the ablative. However, these are the ones which are currently within our scope of understanding of Latin grammar. I will introduce further uses of the ablative in advanced lessons. The ablative case is typically translated in English as from something, with something, or in, on, or at something. We have seen in previous lessons there are a number of prepositions which can take a noun in the ablative. Pro, meaning on behalf of, in front of, can also mean instead of or in return for. It can also simply mean for. PRAE, meaning before or in front of. Sub, meaning below, under, beneath, or behind. Super, meaning above or concerning. In, meaning at, on, or in. De, meaning of or about something. It can also mean down from, or to depart from something. Ex, meaning out from or out of. Sine means without. Cum, meaning with. And ab, which means away from. The prepositions in, sub, and super can either take a noun in the ablative or one in the accusative. When these prepositions take nouns in the accusative, they signify motion. When they take nouns in the ablative, they do not. They simply convey location. For example, when super takes a noun in the accusative, it can mean above, beyond, or on top of. With an ablative, super means concerning. The ablative of location is used to express the location of a noun either in time or space. We use the preposition in, which in English can mean in, on, or at something, followed by a noun in the ablative. Note this is different from when we use the grammatical construction in plus accusative, which indicates motion into or onto something. Here are some examples. Viri in silvis sunt. The men are in the woods. Here we have silvis, which is a first declension ablative plural. Secondly, estis in foro. Are you in the forum? We have the second declension ablative singular, foro. Next, the ablative of separation, sometimes called the true ablative, expresses separation or distance from something or somewhere. It is used after the prepositions ab, ex, and de, which would translate in English as away from, out from, and down from, respectively. You will often see it used with verbs which express the idea of freeing, depriving, or moving away. For example, the verb amoveo, which we covered in a previous lesson. Let's look at these examples. Poetai ab opido ambulant. The poets walk away from the town. This expresses movement away from a place. Opido is an ablative in this case. The poets are separating themselves from the town. Vir ex periculo pueros fet. The man carries the boys out of danger. The boys are removed from danger by the man, so we have periculo in the ablative. We can also use the ablative to indicate accompaniment. We use the preposition cum, meaning with plus the person or persons accompanying the subject in the action. For this use of the ablative, the noun which follows cum is always an animate object, meaning it's a living thing. For example, Claudius cum filia reginae ad insulam navigare optat. Claudius wishes to sail to the island with the daughter of the queen. Agricola cum filio suo in via ambulat. The farmer walks in the street with his son. Here we have two examples of the ablative. First, in via, which is an ablative of location, meaning in the street. And then secondly, we have an ablative of accompaniment, cum filio suo, with his son. The farmer is being accompanied by his son in this action. Lastly, we have the ablative of instrument, sometimes referred to as the ablative of means, which indicates that an action is achieved by means or by way of an instrument. This instrument or object is typically an inanimate object, as in to say something which is non-living. We have come across a few examples of inanimate objects in Latin: gladiīs, a sword; liber, a book; ager, a field. Unlike the ablative of accompaniment and the ablative of location, the ablative of instrument does not make use of a preposition. Here are some Latin examples of the ablative of instrument. 1. Gladiīs inicīmōs pugnāmus. We fight the enemies with swords. Here the swords are being used to fight the enemies. We could also translate this sentence as, we fight the enemies by means of swords, or with the use of swords. We also have number 2, Dea auro amicos iuat. The goddess helps the friends with gold. The goddess uses gold as a means of helping the friends. Iuat could also be translated as saves or favours or gives aid to. To summarise, in this lesson we've discussed prepositions which are used with nouns in the ablative. These include PRAE, pro, cum, ex, and ab. There are also the prepositions sub and super and in, which can also be used either with the ablative or the accusative cases. When these prepositions are used with the accusative, the meaning relates to motion. When they are used with the ablative, they convey location. We have also discussed 4 uses of the ablative of location, the ablative of separation, the ablative of accompaniment, and the ablative of instrument. There are also many more uses of the ablative. However, we have not covered them in this lesson, as to understand some of these other uses, we have to first expand on our knowledge of Latin grammar, which hopefully we will be able to do in the next few lessons. Here are some examples of Latin phrases commonly used in English which make use of the ablative case. Can you spot the ablative constructions? How did you get on? Thank you for watching. I really hope that you found this lesson useful.